got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTameItRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTameItRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTameItRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse.
Okay, good morning and welcome to TalkTameItRadio.com. And did you know that Talk Tame It Radio, or rather Talk Tame It, is now on Facebook TV? All you have to do is log on to Facebook.com//TalkTameIt. That way you can hear and see us. This program right here, The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, on Facebook.com/TalkTameIt. And you can also like us. We are interested in your comments. Good morning. On the world's greatest radio, we go where you go, and you are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept. I am Mr. Bobby. I'm your co-host, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Today, we are still on the seventh area of people activity. We'll be discussing religion. And have Mr. Fuller, who is on the line live from Washington, D.C., make his comments and answer your questions. And believe me, this morning we do have a lot of questions. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. All righty. Let's do this. You can also call the show if you would like by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. And I will get your emails. I don't know if I will read them this morning, but I will get them, particularly relative to the subject that we will be discussing today. And also, don't forget, go to Facebook.com/TalkTameIt, where you can see and hear us. And if you're wondering why I'm repeating that, is because the management has decided that they want you to tune in to not only see but listen to the program, and then hit that like button and leave a comment, and they will at times bring your comments up. Mr. Fuller, again, you said you're still learning, so let me start off with this question. My emails or Gmails have been blowing up, so let's get right into it. This is from the Gmails from Dr. Eric. He said this: Mr. Fuller, due to the recent racist attacks that occurred in Virginia, I've noticed an increase in the use of the term, quote, white supremacy, end quote, being used to describe the individual/groups who attacked counter-protesters. I've noticed that both the media, government officials, key executives at some of the biggest companies in the country are now using the term white supremacy at a rate I have never seen before. I find this odd considering how prior to these attacks in Virginia, almost no one wanted to utter the term, quote, white supremacy, end quote, or white supremacist on TV. But now everyone seems to be using it freely without hesitation, with high frequency. Mr. Fuller, what do you think is going on here? Do you think the white supremacists are up to no good when they start using the term that was once used to precisely describe them and the system we all currently live in?
Yes. Anything that the white supremacists do is to strengthen the system of white supremacy. So the white supremacists have long called themselves white supremacists. I've been trying to get people to use the term the system of white supremacy, because it's a worldwide system. In the recent broadcast and people having talks, I mean, I hear terms like in this country. In this country. You know what I mean? White supremacy has been in this country. I mean, since its inception. White supremacy has been a part of the American culture since its inception. White supremacy, and now people are using it now more than I've ever heard it used.
Mm-hmm.
Those two words. I've been trying to get people to use these terms for decades, and but I spell it out in capital letters, the system of white supremacy. I use the term white supremacy generally speaking, but I'm talking about it as an entire system that is a world system, and that's what I want to emphasize today, because since a lot of white supremacists now are using the term themselves now, I mean, and some of them saying that they are for it, some of them saying that they're against it, and I'll get to that later, because there's another thing that I want to point out. While all of this is going on, you have to remember, and I'm going to say this right now, I mean, because I might forget to say it later on, the white supremacists of this world always see to it that they position themselves on every side of every argument. That's how you become a master confuser. I'm going to say it again. The white supremacists, who are the best governors as far as power is concerned that the world has ever seen, they are the most efficient government that the world has ever seen. Part of that government, part of the government strategy that they use, because we're in a war now. We have always been in a war, because white supremacy is war, all right? They see to it that they position themselves on, since we have heard terms like both sides, this side, that side, alt-right, alt-left, talking about sides. No, the system of white supremacy takes all sides of every argument, but they do it in such a way that when all the talk stops, the system of white supremacy comes out stronger than any side, because they have positioned themselves on every side of every argument strategically. That's a part of their strategy.
Yes, sir.
I want to say that. I want that to be embedded in people's minds. See, I've been out here talking for many, many decades, and I'm going to point to the code book and whatnot, but this is not in the code book, I don't think. But I want to say this. I want to make this very clear on this program, on Talktainment Radio, August what's today's date? 16th?
Yes, sir.
2017.
Yes, sir.
Watch for it, folks. These white supremacists, who are the best strategists when it comes to dominating and misusing people that the world has ever seen, always position themselves on every side of every argument. And they, on the surface, look like they're going at each other. And sometimes they go at each other to the extent that they kill each other.
Wow.
All right?
Yes, sir.
They don't mind doing that. See, because they are a criminal organization. And just like any criminal organization, I mean, in history, they argue among themselves to the extent that they even fight each other on a wholesale basis in order to maintain the system. That's the whole objective. Keep the system going.
Deliberate delusion.
Say that again?
Deliberate delusion.
Yes. And they will go to the extent of actually slaughtering each other. Not just a few people here and there and a few people there. They will slaughter each other en masse. They don't care about that as long as the system remains intact.
Like they did in 9/11.
In any circumstance,
Any
where the white supremacists are involved. I don't know whether they were involved in 9/11 or not, but I'm saying in any big event where non-white people are involved, the white supremacists have positioned themselves in every position that you can name. They are everywhere, all the time, simultaneously. You don't have to go somewhere trying to look for them here and look for them there. They are always everywhere.
Well, then that would include 9/11, but that's okay. We'll move on from there.
Yes, they're involved in anything that involves non-white people.
Okay.
If any non-white people were killed or harmed, and anywhere, and this is important. I keep saying it over and over again because sometimes repetition is important.
Yes, sir.
Those things run past people all the time, and I find myself having to repeat myself.
Yes, sir.
Many times over before someone, sometimes, and this has happened when I've gone on what you call the speaking circuit.
Yeah.
I will say something 5 times in a row, and then when it comes questions and answer time, someone in the audience will hold up their hand who is sitting right on the front seat, will say, I would like an answer to this question. And they will ask the same question that I have spent an hour talking about. All right? So, but I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Because sometimes I've been a member of an audience where a person was saying something over and over and over again, but my mind had actually drifted somewhere else.
Okay.
All right? So I can see that it happens,
Yes,
but I
sir.
just want to point it out this morning.
Okay.
The white supremacists, remember this, folks, position themselves everywhere, not just on one side. Recently you've been hearing what? On television, you've been hearing people use the term this side, that side. And what's 2 words that you've been hearing over and over again? Both sides.
Both sides.
Both
yes.
sides. BOTHSIDES. Both sides. Well, the white supremacists, keep this in mind, position themselves
All sides.
in any argument on all sides of every argument so that they always come out with the power at the end of the argument.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
Don't forget that. Okay. Let's move on here. This is a try question in one. It says, Mr. Fuller, why do, and I'll try to fix it so you can answer all 3 at this, basically, why do white people who practice racism deny reality, and why do non-white people of the world settle for only survival instead of fighting for justice? And 3, how do we break the introduction that all non-white people and white people are bombarded with 24/7 through their thoughts, speech, and actions every day in all areas of people's activities, in particular education, entertainment, religion, and sex? All right, let's go with the first one. Why do white people who practice racism deny reality?
I think I just covered it, but I'll cover it again.
All right.
The white supremacists have a code, a world code, and that code is dominate and mistreat in all 9 areas of activity.
Okay.
Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Mistreat non-white people. Any person who is classified as black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, and might even, with this genetic engineering, might even come up with some purple people that they can do something to. Who knows? The white supremacists just have this thing about being color struck, all right?
Okay.
And anybody that has color in his or her skin is supposed to be some kind of target. They came up with that and made a whole dominant world culture out of it.
All right.
That's very efficient when it comes to producing things. It is very efficient.
Okay.
Most of the things that we enjoy is because of the work of the white supremacists.
Gotcha.
Truth be told.
Okay. Now,
But they believe in mistreating people and killing people in huge numbers.
yes, sir.
Who have color in their skin in order to have those things, and actually the things that they have are not as important as the fun that they get out of mistreating people of color.
Wow.
I mean, they've gotten so complacent and so good at it and whatnot. They say, heck, actually, we just don't, mistreat black people just so we can have some more things, have some money, and all like that. We got all of that. We mistreat them because that's our entire culture.
Okay.
I mean, and if anybody who endangers that culture, you're endangering the most valuable thing that I value in my entire life. If I'm not doing that, I don't know what to do with myself.
Oh,
I want to even kill myself, and a lot of them do.
All right.
I mean, the suicide rate among a whole lot of white supremacists is going up. Why? Because they say it looks like we're losing the ability to not just have things. We got things. We don't care anything about these things we have. I mean, cars and television sets and all like that. I mean, that's convenient. We know how to do it. We know how to make them. I mean, that's no big deal. But we're going to lose the ability to mistreat people of color? Oh, my God. We can't do that. I mean, what am I going to do? I'll be bored.
Okay.
That's the white supremacist mentality. I am bored if I can't go out there and beat up on some black people.
Okay.
I mean, that gives me my that makes me feel like I'm somebody.
All right.
I mean, you're going to tell me that I got to be nobody? That I got to be nice to everybody and all like that? I just can't stand it. Oh, I don't even want to be in this world. Let me out of here.
Okay.
That's the white supremacist mentality.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
Then the second part is, why do the non-white people of this world settle for only survival instead of fighting for justice?
Only do what now?
Why do the non-white people of the world settle for only for survival instead of fighting for justice?
Oh, because we have been trained, first of all, and I want to emphasize this too, not to study white supremacy at all until it is more or less just stomp us in the face or gun us down on some highway or something like that, and then for 5 or 10 minutes we all get excited and whatnot and hang some teddy bears on a fence and whatnot, and then we go back to doing what we do best. And beat up on each other and kill each other. Truth be told. But we were trained to do that.
Yes.
Trained by whom? By the white supremacists, the usual suspects.
All righty. And then the third part is that how do we break the introduction that all non-white people and white people are bombarded with 24/7 through their thoughts, speech, and actions every day in all areas of people activities, in particular education, entertainment, religion, and sex? How do we break that into the indoctrination of that?
Counter-racist code. And here again, I'm going to say this because I haven't even mentioned the book. But before I went on the program this morning, I was thinking, Fuller, you got to keep talking about your code book. I mean, because everybody's going to be talking for the next few days until they wear themselves out about what's going on right now. And then everything will just all die down again if the white supremacists decide that it's going to die down again. All right? And just be, business as usual and go back to this, a few shootings every now and then on some highway or something, and black people will jump up and scream and yell and hang some teddy bears on a fence and then go back to sleep until the next 2 weeks, the next thing happens, and then we'll get all flared up about that until we just finally decide, well, we're tired of doing that. Let's just sing and dance and clap our hands, which is the pattern that we usually follow, which is why nothing ever gets done. So I'm saying we need a counter-racist code where we get serious about this ongoing war that's been going on much longer than anybody who is now breathing on this planet. All right? I don't know when white supremacists began, but we need to replace it with what? A system of justice. Now, what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
All righty. TalkTameAtRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here are several that I would like to share with you. Let me get it in front of me. Do this. Oh, yeah. How about Blue Moon Saturday? We know who does that, don't we? Yeah, there he is in the background. All in the Family. How about Wiggins World? Now, all these shows are exclusive to TalkTameAtRadio.com, and all you have to do is click on programs for the scheduled times. Talk Tame It Radio. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, who is live from Washington, D.C. on the line. We are speaking in the seventh area of people activity, which is religion. And if you have any comments or calls, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. And more importantly, you can do this. Go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, where you can see and you can also hear us. And I'm told that there is a like button right there. Hit us on the like button, and then you can leave a comment. Doesn't make any difference what it is. You can do that, and I'm told that they will bring some of those comments up to me, and I will give you a shout out. So go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, and we'll get you on there. Mr. Fuller, you said this, not verbatim I'm going to say this, but you said that the problem in the world is the race problem, and that basically no problems can be solved until that problem is solved first?
Absolutely. You can't solve any major problem in economics, in education, in entertainment. You know, a lot of black people are looking forward to being entertainers and all like that. And if there are some problems in the field of entertainment, you're going to have that problem if you are a person of color. I don't care what you set out to be. Mm-hmm. See, at one time, I thought that, like a lot of black people, even today think, well, I don't have time to be bothered with that race stuff. I got too many other things to do. Well, it comes down to a very logical question. Other things like what? When you are born in a prison called the system of white supremacy, and so you're not going to deal with the prison that you're in, I mean, and start trying to think that you can act outside of a prison when you are born in the prison and never been out of the prison, and that you're going to do something outside of a prison when you are not outside of a prison. That doesn't make sense. It's not logical. And it takes some people 50 and 60 years to find out. My whole life has been spent in a prison called racism. Okay. See, the whole world is dominated by racism in the form of white supremacy, if you're a person of color. And sometimes a person has almost got both feet in the grave before Eureka. They suddenly realize that. After spending an entire existence wondering why they were having all the problems they were having, when it was right there in their face from the day that they were born.
Right there.
So your assignment, according to counter-racist logic, from the day that you were born to the day that you are finally in that grave, you are supposed to be, logically speaking, trying to replace that prison system with the system of justice.
All right.
System of racism with the system of justice. If you are not doing that, according to counter-racist science, you're not doing what you were put here for.
Okay. Let's take a phone call. Line number 1. Is that what it is? Okay, line number 1. You're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Peace and blessings as usual. Compensatory Constructive Action Meeting every Saturday, 2800 St. Louis Drive, across Lake Clifton High School under the dome. My question is, from what I'm understanding from Mr. Fuller, is the only defense we have against white supremacy is righteousness. Righteousness, and we also need the help, I guess, with the non-white people. I mean, the white people that aren't white supremacists, we need their help in order to conquer the system of white supremacy, from what I see. So if they're comfortable within this system, why would they even want to think about helping us when we're even battling amongst our own selves, people of color, the Mexicans against the this and the blacks and the that. We're not organized. People of color are totally unorganized, which we know. So
okay,
I'm just trying to see what we can do.
Okay, wait a minute now, so that we can, Mr. Fuller can understand that question. Could you condense it and put it in a question form so that he can answer that directly?
Okay. What I'm saying is, we need the non-white, we need the white people that aren't racist to help us overcome white supremacy, and our only weapon is righteousness to fight against white supremacy, is what I see.
Okay, righteousness. Okay, yeah. That's a statement, but okay, Mr. Fuller, response, please.
Yes, and in the textbook for victims of racism, it tells, because I was anticipating at some point, very few white people have ever talked to me about the counter-racist code. In fact, I can count them on less than one hand, because I think it's maybe about 3. In all the years that I've been out here, there have been about 3 white people who have talked to me for maybe about 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I think it's one that talked to me for about 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, this is a white lady that was calling me on the telephone.
Yes, sir.
Frequently.
Yes, sir.
But now, other white people, it may be 1 or 2, have talked to me about racism and my views and all like that, maybe for about 3 minutes each. And all the decades that I have been out here, because I try to be scientific, not emotional, governance, talking about, just beating up on white people and talking about my grievances and all like that. I talk about solutions. And see, and most white people, if they talk about, it's been my experience, if they talk about solutions, they talk about it kind of in the abstract, like, well, we should all love each other, And if they do something physical, then they do what black people do when we solve problems. And that is, we hug and high five. All right?
Yeah.
But we don't get down to starting today, what is it that we're going to stop doing, and what is it we're going to start doing? Starting right this minute, today. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That's what you call codification. See, and the white supremacists don't want black people to ever codify anything. Just talk about how you feel about everything. Just jump up and down and scream and yell, clap your hands, stomp your feet, but don't talk about doing anything in a systematic manner. All right? But what I have written and spent time doing all down these years is try to come up with a counter-racist code that's very specific. Now, what are 2 of the things at the top of that list? And I have reiterated those 2 things because they'll go a long ways.
Okay, number 1.
The white person who wants to help, first of all, never say anything to a non-white person that is not true, or you will have that label on you as being a white supremacist forever, a suspected white supremacist.
Okay.
In official terms, according to the counter-racist code. That's an absolute.
Yes, sir.
Don't you ever, if you're white, say anything. I'm talking about just get a street number mixed up.
Okay.
I mean, if I ask, where's Cherrydale Street, and you send me in incorrect direction, that makes you a suspect right there.
Okay.
Because the white supremacists thrive on lies.
Lies. Okay. Hold it right there, Mr. Fuller. TalkTameRadio.com. I am Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And you can get in contact with the show by doing it 3 ways. 1, you can dial 1-877-932-9766, as our caller is doing right now and has done right now. You can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Can't promise you that I'll get it on the air, but you can also do this. You know that Talktainment is now on Facebook TV. So all you have to do is log on to facebook.com/Talktainment. That way you can see and hear us on this program, The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. So go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can also hit the like button and we're interested in your comments. Before we take the call, just a few shout-outs to Reggie in Virginia, Sandra in Sacramento, California, Aubrey in Dallas, Vic in Florida, and Chris in New York. Thank you for your listenership. All right, we're talking about religion, the seventh area of people activity with Mr. Fuller, and we will take line number two? Line number 2, you're on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, the deuce is wide. Go ahead.
How you doing? My name is Gregory. I'm a frequent caller or listener always of Mr. Neely Fuller, and
Yes,
I would
sir.
like to say thank Mr. Fuller. I think he's one of the wisest men we have alive today regarding this topic, and I'm glad he's in our midst in this day and time. And my question is like a two-part question. I want to ask him if he noticed like code words spoken amongst Donald Trump with the white supremacists through everything that happened this past weekend. And my second question would be, does he think a race war is inevitable given, things that are going on right now?
Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back to that first question. Was a code word or code what now?
Yeah, well, during the conversations, like a lot of the white supremacists said that they were mentioning like dog whistles and things like that during the interactions, and like some of the white supremacists said that he didn't really do anything to criticize them for what they had done.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, you want to address
About
that?
code word.
Well, if we're talking about code words, all words that white supremacists use to help to strengthen the system of white supremacy are, quote, unquote, code words. They are code words because the white supremacists have the strongest and most efficient code that the world has ever seen. That's why they're the most powerful, the smartest and most powerful people that the world have existed on this planet in recorded history. Now, pre-recorded history, I don't know anything about, but in all recorded history, all the evidence shows the white supremacists are the most efficient people in dominating and mistreating people that the world has ever seen.
Yes, sir.
And they have a code for doing that. So everything that they say is arranged in a way to strengthen them, not to make them weaker, even when it looks like they are being made weaker. When they speak, they are becoming stronger. And that goes to show just how skilled they are. They are super skilled. This is why, at the end of the day, after everybody gets through talking, if you are a person who has color in your skin, you wind up always having to beg for whatever you want, no matter what it is, if it's anything of value, either directly or indirectly from the white supremacists. Even when they stand there and tell you how much they don't particularly care for you, you still have to beg them. That's not magic. That's a strategy that is well thought out in order to produce that result. So in answer to the question, yes, they have a code. It's called the system of white supremacy. And every move that they make, every word that they say, because they are masters of words, they manipulate words in such a way, and they have a lot of words that they can talk for 2 hours, and you can say, boy, that guy he really did speak. I mean, man, he was burning it up and all like that. But then when you try to interpret what all of those fancy words meant, you will come up on empty.
Okay.
If you don't believe it, try it sometime.
Alrighty.
You will say, now, what can I do with everything that I just heard? And chances are, there's nothing you can do with anything that you just heard.
Okay.
That's why you remain in the situation that you're in. But it sounded great.
Alrighty.
And not only that, the white supremacists are very skilled at teaching a lot of black people to do that.
Alrighty.
And black people will go out thinking that they are helping black people by using those same terms in the same way, when really they are making black people weaker and weaker who listen to it and buy into it. And then later on, when the black people discover that they became weaker, they blame it on the black person. But it's not the black person's fault, because they were using the same type of terminology that the white supremacists were using.
Gotcha.
That's why I say go to the compensatory code book through producejustice.com and learn some new ways to use words that I think, in my opinion, will be effective.
Okay.
And if you use
In
them,
my opinion, too.
you can see whether or not it works better.
All right. What's your second question, sir?
My second question is just that, the fact that they used to be dressed in hoods and all that, but, under the Trump administration, even at that situation that happened in Charlottesville, like they were dressed in his clothing, like khaki pants, white shirts, red hats. So it seems as though, like, everyone is just, under this administration, they're going to be more exposed to this, not hiding themselves. So I think things are inevitable. So I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller if he thinks like a race war is inevitable.
Okay.
During this day and time.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, ninth area of activity, war. And I've been saying this over and over again, but I'm going to repeat it in answer to the question. The war has been going on before any of the people who are on this planet now were even thought about being born. I'll put it in that capsule. All of the people on this planet who are breathing right now have been born. They were born. I don't care how old they are. They were born while this war was going on. This war started long before any people, white and non-white, were on this planet.
Yes, sir.
Now, all right? All the evidence shows that. Because what you're talking about is, when did white supremacy begin? And some people say, well, a conservative figure is around 400 years, and a maximum figure is around 600 years. And I've heard this debated back and forth down through the decades.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this debated.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people have said, oh, these people don't know anything, or they're not well aware. The system of white supremacy has been around something like 2,000 years plus. Okay? That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Because you don't have anybody on this planet who is 2,000 years old, I don't think.
No.
All right? So when you talk about when did the war begin, the war began before we were born, and we were all made prisoners of war a long time ago. We are born in prison. When black people go to prison, like I have in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, when we go to what we call prison now, I call that greater confinement in capital letters. That's how I describe it over and over again in the textbook for victims of racism that you can get by going to producejustice.com. Why? Why do I call it greater confinement? Because we are already confined. If you're a person of color, you're confined in every area of activity according to the white supremacist dictates right this minute. You're confined in economics. You're confined in education. Here it is, 2017, and we're still arguing about schools. I mean, have we noticed that? Just schools, the second area of activity, education, learning, which you have, if you're going to be on this planet, you're going to have to know something. And so we are arguing about how much a black person is going to know about anything. And the white supremacists make the decisions about what we learn. In fact, if we get a certificate of learning, you better have a white person's name on it in the system of white supremacy. Otherwise, it's not going to be recognized nowhere.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Think about it, folks.
Mm.
I don't want to start, sounding like I'm emotional, which I'm not, I don't think.
Yes.
I'm being scientific
You're
here.
being scientific, following the logic.
Right.
TalkTameItRadio.com. We go where you go and simply download the TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. You can call into the show by calling 1-877-932-9766. Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY at gmail.com. Or now you can go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, where you can see and you can hear us, and you can hit the like button, leave a comment, and I will give you a shout out like I'm getting ready to do now. Tippy in North Carolina, Ron in Springboro, Devin, who is in L.A., Patrice, who is in Nevada, and Tobin, who is in Australia, down under. Yes, they all went to facebook.com/Talktainment, and I was able to get it on here, and I think I'm going to get some more names too. But anyway, thank you for that. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and we can do that there. Mr. Fuller, before we take the call, you have mentioned it twice already, but we're going to do it again and briefly so we can get to our phone calls. How can one get both of your publications?
You can get both of the publications by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. One is a basic book that gives you basic material and talking about what to do, how to do, some ideas about what you can think. It's not a dictatorship. It's very selective. You just read it, and if it makes sense to you, you use it. If it doesn't make sense to you, you say, this doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yes.
And I'm not using this.
Right.
But if you find anything in that basic book or in the additional book, the Word Guide, that makes sense to you and you think you can use it, you use it.
Yes, sir.
But use it within the context of where you got it.
Yes, sir.
Because if you add anything to it,
yes, sir,
you know, like on a job, anything like that,
yes,
or
sir,
particularly if you are a student in a school, say where you got it from. Now, that's not to hype Neely Fuller's books. It is to keep down what? Confusion. Because the white supremacists will thrive on, and they are definitely working on distorting anything that I say. I hear a lot of things that I say out here. I mean, I hear it, but I hear it distorted, okay? I hear it on the radio, I hear it on television, I hear a lot of the terms that I use and all like that, but I hear it also distorted because someone has added stuff or taken stuff out and all like that,
right?
And used it, you know, in a different way, and directly, indirectly, this is to strengthen the system of white supremacy. It's not to make it weaker and replace it with the system of justice.
Yes, sir.
But get the book by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com.
That's what we want. Producejustice.com. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1, you're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
My name is Delvon. I'm from Tampa, Florida. And my question is, I was talking with my wife about what the white supremacists are responsible for. And in the book, it states that we should blame them for most of the things that non-white people do.
You know what page that was on?
No, I'm
okay,
not sure.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Go ahead. All right, that's all right. Go ahead.
So my wife, she created the scenario. She said, what if somebody has a job that they're supposed to go to, but they spend the night before smoking and drinking on the porch and then don't make it to the job, so they blame the white supremacists. So,
okay.
And I said, well, you should blame the white supremacists for the majority of things that happen to non-white people. So I just want to hear Mr. Fuller's take on that.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
You look at the whole world like a ship. Anything that sailors, the subordinates, do, on a ship, I've been told, all of the sailors on that ship are subordinate to the captain of the ship.
Yes, sir.
Okay, look at the entire planet as a ship, and the captains of that ship called planet Earth, when it comes to people of color, are not all white people, but those white people who practice white supremacy. They are the bosses of all of the non-white people on the planet. So, just like on a ship, if the sailors are getting drunk on the ship, you don't say anything to the sailors. You go straight to the captain's cabin and say, what's going on here, Captain? I mean, that is, if you're some type of investigator or something like that, I mean, you've been given that authority, and that's how you do it.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the hierarchy. I mean, if you go into a classroom and the students are just throwing erasers at each other and cursing each other out and, and just playing games and whatnot, nobody's learning. I mean, and the superintendent of schools comes in and looks around, just the automatic. automatically.
Who's in charge?
Yes, the superintendent of schools will say, who is in charge here?
Yes, sir.
See,
Right.
so it's always the same thing. You know, if you see non-white people anywhere on the planet doing anything that people shouldn't do, and you better believe non-white people are doing truckloads of things that they shouldn't do, all right, every minute of the day, okay, in the system of white supremacy.
So should he blame the white man for his on the porch drinking?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because they are the only captain of the ship.
Okay.
You don't have two captains.
Okay.
You just got one. That's what white supremacy means, supreme. So you're always going to the white people, those white people who practice white supremacy, and you know, the white supremacists say, well, look how those people are acting and all like that. Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute, ma'am. These people were raised by you. They drink your whiskey.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about whiskey.
I see what
they
you're saying.
take your drugs. They go to your school.
I see what you're saying.
You educate them. And so if you see these people out here acting the way that they're acting, now, the white supremacists will sometimes say, well, that's really not my fault. You can't blame me. I do the best that I can. But these people are inferior. Now, that brings to one thing that I want to say this morning.
Okay.
Because I've said it. I very seldom say it.
Go ahead, say it.
But I have put it in the form of a question. Either the white supremacists are to blame for the problems of black people on this planet, or, listen carefully now, or black people are inferior to white people, or both. Take your choice. I'm going to say that again. Either the white supremacists are to blame for the problems of black people, or black people are inferior to white people, or both. Take your choice. You got three selections there. I just repeated them twice. Okay? Now, a lot of black people kind of rolled their eyes at the ceiling when I've gone to seminars and made that statement.
They rolling their eyes now.
Oh, yeah, right. But that's the truth. So you always go for the truth, and you don't care where, you know, who gets hurt. So you got to always start with the truth. And if the truth hurts, so be it.
Okay, follow the logic of that
Follow
statement.
the logic. But now here's what.
Okay.
Why would Fuller even introduce something like that in a counter-racist code? That's in the book.
That is a question. Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
First of all, you always go for the truth.
Okay.
Now, suppose it turns out that black people are really inferior to white people. Suppose that after everybody examines everything, go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, and somebody decides, well, hey, the white supremacists are right. Black people are just inferior. They just ain't got it. I don't care how hard you try. Whatever you do with them. I mean, they're just inferior. They can't do nothing that makes sense.
Okay, wait a minute. The logic says that we have to follow the statement to ask this question: is that true or is that not true? Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, is it true? It's either true or false. We're either inferior or we're not.
So the logic says there has to be an investigation about that statement.
There has to be an investigation.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Now, at this point in history, a lot of people say they have investigated it. I mean, you know, without emotion or anything like that.
Okay, that's
and
out.
They have come to the conclusion, a lot of people, both mostly white, have come to the conclusion that it's true.
Based on what?
People are inferior. All right? Well, they base it on, hey, what do they do? See, because when you know, that's just it. The argument keeps going back and forth.
Yeah.
And so some black people say, well, we're not inferior when it comes to playing music. And you know, the white supremacists say, well, let's look at that. You know, what is music? And then that goes back and forth and all like that.
Yeah.
And then black people, then the white supremacists will say, well, name something that you have done that's worth doing, or your people. The whole time, then they go back and forth all about ancient Kemet and all like that.
Yeah. Or
it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
But then the white supremacists usually pull their big card out by simply saying, well, why is it that you people worldwide, I mean, with your babies in your arms, always have to come to me with your problems, but I never have to come to you? All right? And that's a legitimate question.
You're hitting pretty hard, Mr. Fuller.
Why is it that you people will get in lines talking about you need jobs and all like that? I never come to you asking for anything. I just come to you and tell you what you better do. All right?
Wow.
Now, who's inferior? All right? Now, so I have thought about all of this before I coined that statement that I made.
Yeah, what you got to say about that
one? So I'm going to get back to what I started this particular part of the conversation with.
Okay.
Black people, white people, the white supremacists are either they are to blame for all of the problems of black people, or black people are inferior to white people, or both. All right? Now, I coined that statement because I want to go to the truth and then go from there. Once I get the truth, then I want to go from there. And so when I came up with that, I say, okay, suppose it's one or the other or both. I said, and none of these will be satisfactory to a black person, all right, including me, okay? Suppose I am inferior. I don't want to be inferior, all right, but suppose I am. And then I can look at it the other way. Suppose I'm not inferior, but these white supremacists are to blame for me being in the condition I'm in, all right? Suppose that's true, okay? Or suppose both of them are true, that the white supremacists are to blame for the condition I'm in, and I'm also inferior, okay? Now, it comes down to one question now.
Okay.
What's the solution? And the solution is replace the system of white supremacy with justice. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I went through all of that to say bottom line is still the same.
Bottom line.
You replace the system of white supremacy with justice. That's even, what am I really saying? Listen carefully now. Even if black people are inferior, the solution to that problem is not to beat up on these inferior people, but to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice, and then define what the word justice means.
Okay. Wow. TalkTimeRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening to the first hour. If you're online, hang on, stay tuned for the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Thanks for listening.
You got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio Worldwide South. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimeRadio.com.
This is Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse.
Alrighty, welcome to the second opening of the broadcast of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. on TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. And you know what? We are the world's greatest radio. You now are in touch with the compensatory concept. I am Mr. Bobby, the co-host, and this is the radio the way it should be heard. Now, let me get this out the way first here. You can get in contact with this show, as the callers are doing right now, so hang on. I will get to you by calling 1-877-932-9766. You can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY at gmail.com, or you can simply go, since Talktainment is now on Facebook TV, all you have to do is log on to facebook.com/Talktainment, where you can see and you can hear us, and this program in particular, the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. That's facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can also like us. And we're interested in what you have to say. You can leave a comment, and we do have a few people that I have to call. Jolaya Carter, Oz Rockman, Kim Joshua Jones said hello. Thank you for the comment. Moshe Talmud, good morning, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. Rosalind Smothers, good morning from North Carolina. All right, North Carolina in the house. Dwayne Anderson, good morning from the central west coast of Florida. Sean Punch. Mr. Fuller, keep on doing a good job. I'm still learning. Zulu Jeff just said you. Okay, we got it. Phil Johnson says hello. And let me say this. Ed, the extermination man called, and I do have a message for him. So if he calls for you, let me know so I can give him the information that the person gave to me. I'd really appreciate that. Okay, we are discussing religion here. The seventh area of people activity. If you missed the first hour, go back and get that. Replay it. Some very dynamic comments by Mr. Fuller, statements. You should do that. And speaking of statements, we're going to take a phone call now. Line 1. Okay, line 1. It's all you. Go ahead. Go ahead, line 1.
Oh, yes. This topic is based on religion, right? The concept of religion and how it has basically controlled, I guess it has controlled both sides, blacks and whites. And my problem is, the religion has kind of put us in a loophole over the centuries because of our concept of religion, which was based on spirituality. I think that religion, it holds black people down. In the 60s, during the civil rights movement, it was powerful because when Dr. King was pushing for us, the religion, he had the nonviolent movement going on, but at the same time, he was coming up out of that, listening to Malcolm X and a couple of other guys, but he was also talking about the segregation. And he was talking about that he felt like that he was leading our people into a burning house of fire. Well, that part of Dr. King, we didn't understand that Dr. King really was talking about, okay, now listen, we have been so focusing on what white people have done to us for centuries, but we haven't been focusing on what we have done to ourselves. That's the problem.
Okay.
And religion, like I say, I think that religion has been one of our biggest downfalls because the church have gotten out of the place of talking about civil rights and the movement, and they got us so dwelled on what we need to be praying and praying and hoping for a change, and that ain't gonna never happen. We have to change ourselves as people.
Okay.
And the problem is, it has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with, in my city, my hometown, we have so much violence, and everybody's saying, well, what do we do about violence? It starts at home, the parenting.
Starts at home.
We have to start re-evaluating our kids.
All righty.
We have to go to attack the church and And instead of talking about praying, that ain't going to make a change.
Okay, thank you, Mama. Thank you very much for your call. Appreciate that. We'll have to put that under VGQ. What's the next line, Ed? Line number 2? Okay, line number 2. You're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. We having trouble getting the show in Baltimore, so I can't hear you guys.
Okay.
But I'm in Baltimore, of course. This is Brother Muko, where we hold a compensatory constructive action meeting every Saturday, 9 to 10, St. Louis Drive, under the dome. So anybody listening in Baltimore, y'all can come and join us. But my question for Mr. Fuller, I hope you haven't covered this already. But my question to Mr. Fuller is for my care unit in Baltimore. Can you please explain why it is important that if you practice a religion, your belief should be backed up by logic?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
If you practice what?
Any religion.
First of all, I'll go to the 7th area of activity, which is where we're supposed to be in the textbook for victims now. I'm sitting here listening, and I'm thinking, and this would include what the previous caller said. Go to the textbook, if you have one, and look at what I have said from my viewpoint, based on logic, because everything that I say is supposed to be based on logic.
Yes, sir.
Not just what Neely Fuller is trying to push, out of his ego or whatever it is that he might have. It's supposed to be scientific. 1 and 1 is 2, all right?
Right.
So that applies to religion, too.
Yes, sir.
Because, first of all, you do what when you start talking about anything? What is religion? Now, I try to get that straight in the textbook. What is religion? Get that straight. I hear people in almost every now and then coming up on this program, somebody will say, well, religion is been a big problem with black people and black people with these churches and all that, and that goes back and forth and back and forth.
Yes, sir.
Now, we need to stop the back and forth and come right to the scientific approach. The codified approach is, first of all, if you use a word like religion, you define the word religion first of all. That's number 1, right out of the gate. Otherwise, everything else is going to be downhill anyway, if you don't define what you mean by religion. Religion is nothing but a strong belief backed up by action. And the most effective religion among the people of this planet that the world has ever seen right this minute in 2017 is the religion of white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
It's a strong belief backed up by action. There's no religion that is superior to that religion. According to what? Neely Fuller? No. According to the evidence.
Or logic.
All right? It's more people who cater to the system of white supremacy on this planet right this minute, the religion of white supremacy, than any other religion or all the other religions combined.
Wow.
All the other religions are busy fighting each other, arguing with each other about, in the Christianity, people are still hitting each other over the head with the Bible, which is why you got a different church on every corner with a different name on it. The St. Matthew, the First Baptist Church, the Second Baptist Church, the 20th Baptist Church, Baptist, and all of them say, what we do here is a little bit different from what they're doing down the block there. All right, a little bit different. I thought you were all Christians, which means you come together in Christ. Okay? And so now, and you go to the Islam, well, just read the newspapers and make up your own mind of what that's all about. When you look at the Islamic religion right now in most of the world, you have people who call themselves Muslims who are killing people who call themselves what? Muslims.
Yes.
You don't have to have a religion to kill anybody. All you got to do is just start killing. The dead people are dead. That's for sure. okay? And you have, all over the world, Buddhism and whatnot. Everybody arguing and fighting. Now, in the religion of white supremacy, which is a strong belief backed up by action, you have white people who are white supremacists who fight each other. But they don't fight each other to the extent that the religion is still not the strongest religion among the people of this planet. And now, what do I mean by it's the strongest religion? Because if you look, there are a lot of black people who call themselves Christians or Muslims or black Hebrews, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you notice? When the white supremacists come around with their white supremacist religion, which is the religion of white supremacy, it's not Christianity, it's not Judaism, it's not Hinduism, it's not Islam. The religion of white supremacy is white supremacy. Now, but the white supremacists will call themselves anything, all right? Because that's a part of their deception. That's a part of their strength.
Yes.
Remember what I said at the beginning of this program. The white supremacists take all sides of every argument.
You did say that.
They always wind up in the position of power.
That was beginning.
Power over whom? Over everybody who has color in his or her skin.
Right.
And that's not because Neely Fuller said so. Just look around at this entire planet. That's another thing. Just don't start talking about Charlottesville or Raleigh, North Carolina or Ferguson, Missouri. When you talk about white supremacy, you're talking about a world system in all 9 areas of activity, and it's a world religion. So if you're going to talk about religion, you start off saying, getting the words straight.
Yes.
Don't start breaking it down into Christianity and Islam and all like that. No. Go straight to the religion that everybody caters to.
Yes.
That's the religion of white supremacy.
Yeah. You know, Mr.
And put it in those terms. Say, hey, I'm not knocking anybody's religion. I'm not pushing anybody's religion up or down or sideways or anything. I'm talking about the strongest religion that the world has ever seen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the religion of white supremacy and their practitioners.
Yes. You know, it's funny because we were having meetings this week, and of course, Charlottesville is in the news, but there's been a lot of towns. Many of them haven't been mentioned, but Rosewood down in Florida was mentioned. But one of the things that was brought up was that a lot of people don't know about the Black Wall Street, the killing of people in I think it was 1921. Now, I've never been in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but some people act like that this incident in Charlotte was basically white. I mean, not the first time. No, this killing of mistreatment of black people has been going on for a long time. And they were wondering, Mr. Fuller, and I did tell them that you're from Oklahoma, but I don't know if you weren't born then, but you know anything about that? I mean, and this particular pattern?
People didn't talk about it when I was young. I was 60 miles away from where all that was happening. And, of course, I wasn't born at the time that it was happening. I was born in 1929. That was in 1921.
Yeah, 1921.
But people in the town where I was, 60 miles away, they simply didn't talk about it at all, except just 1 or 2 people, all right? And a few people at the time that it happened got in cars, and, just about 5 or 6 cars, I understood, and took guns over there to try to help out the black people in Tulsa.
Wow.
Okay? Because it was, but that was just another one of the small incidents.
Small.
When you look at, yes. See, when you talk about white supremacy, you're talking about all of the millions of black people who drowned in the Middle Passage or were thrown overboard and whatnot on account of they didn't, have enough space for them or whatnot, or ran out of food and they died and all like that. All type of horrible things happened. I mean, ships going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yes.
Over what? Hundreds of years. See, we're talking about hundreds of years. We're not talking about, remember when they lynched that black guy down in Dalhart, Texas? Folks, please, it's okay to mention those things, but talk about things, going over hundreds and thousands of years. all of the black people that died, I mean, in the Colosseums, in the Roman Colosseums, that were hauled up from what they call the continent of Africa, and they were put into the entertainment centers in Rome by the white supremacists who called themselves Roman emperors and whatnot. But they were white supremacists anytime they went and got dark people and put them in the Colosseums to fight the lions so that the emperor's women could look and enjoy themselves and clap their hands when this black person was being torn apart by a lion for their entertainment. See, that's what they would do when they got bored.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, when they're up there, I mean, having all types of orgies and whatnot, and they say, okay, let's stroll over to the Colosseum and watch these Africans, these Afrites, these inferior people, I mean, fight the lions. And we'll watch them for about a couple of hours getting torn apart. And I mean, and that way we'll thrill ourselves because they like the thrill. They like using that word, this is a thriller.
Yeah.
That's why they like to write books about, what do they call it? Thrills.
Thrills and chills.
All right, thrills and chills. Okay, murder mysteries. Who done it? I mean, let's find out who did it. You know, we found a body in the trunk. I mean, who did it? I mean, and it'll be 500 pages. I mean, a big glossy book. Not a book telling you how to grow anything, how to dig a well. All those books are back in the back of the bookstore. All the books about killing are up front. That tells you something about so-called white culture right there.
Right there.
White supremacist culture. And that's a word that hasn't been mentioned on the program this morning. But somebody's been mentioning culture on TV in the last few days with these statues and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Our culture, okay? What is culture? See, watch words. What is culture? Culture is whatever you're doing at the time that you're doing it.
That you're doing it, yes.
See, that's what I mean by a word guide. Go to the textbook for victims of racism. I'm not just trying to push Neely Fuller's book, but it seems like that's the only way that I can do it. Because if I could do it any other way, I would do it that way. But I have this book out here that I think is not the answer to everything, but I call it right there on the cover. It's a guide. It's to lead us, in a different direction in a way of doing things from what we have been doing. Because of what? It's a compensatory code.
Yes, sir.
Which means what? We haven't been doing what works. And I'm thinking that if we start using some of the things that I'm just trying to start off in a very baby-like way, start off us in this direction, mostly just paying attention to how people use words, that will go a long ways overnight.
Yes, sir.
For solving our problems. That's my belief.
That's your belief.
And if it doesn't happen, I mean, if we actually do it, then that's all on me.
Okay.
They'll say, Fuller, you led us, you had us, you steered us, you made suggestions that had us off course. So let's get back to what we were doing.
All right.
But just try this for a change and see on your job and all like that. And when you go to these colleges, when you go to your high school, take a textbook for victims of racism with you, lay it aside, whatever books that they have, whatever books they put on your desk, read them too. I mean, because you got to do that to stay in school. But lay aside, right there on the side of your desk, have the textbook for victims of white supremacy right alongside, and refer to it every now and then.
Okay.
And then start asking the professor questions.
Asking questions.
And now I think we'll start making some traction.
There you go.
Big time, all over the world.
And you can get that by going to Produce Justice.
Go to ProduceJustice.com.
All right, TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and, of course, politics. And here are a couple or several I'd like to share with you. This is Libby, and you've heard that, but yeah, you got to hear it again. The Kinsman, and At the Table. Now, all these shows are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com, and all you have to do is click on programs for scheduled times. That's Talktainment Radio. That's radio the way it should be heard. I'm Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our topic is religion. We haven't even got to the pages of that today because the calls have been coming in and the comments have been great. But anyway, you can listen to us by going to, by calling 1-877-932-9766. Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, or you can go to Facebook.com/Talktainment. That's Facebook.com/Talktainment. And there you can see us and you can hear us. And also there's a like button. You can push that. You can hit a comment. We accept all comments. And if you do that, we will read your name out, like the names I'm going to read right now. Pat in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Dennis in State College, Pennsylvania. Gilbert in Memphis. Paul in New Orleans, Louisiana, Cindy in Crestview, and Lucille down there in southern Alabama. Okay, thank you for your loyal listenership, and we'll go on from there. Okay, let's see here if I can swipe this up here and get a Gmail here. Okay, this is from Doc Mack. He says, Mr. Fuller, why can't we, and I know we as Afro-Americans are victims of white supremacy, but are we allowed to speak our minds the way we see this fool of a president do, or should we just keep our mouths shut and suffer in silence, meaning holding all of our frustration at injustice inward?
There is a procedure for solving all problems. All problems. I'm going to say this for the 10 millionth time, and I'm going to keep saying it until hopefully something grabs somebody, and they try it. All you got to do is just try it. If it doesn't work, jump all over Neely Fuller and say, Fuller, get out of here with that garbage, because that's one of the first things and one of the first people that I talked to told me, Fuller, ain't nothing in that book that I can use. And I said, well, that's what you're supposed to discover by reading the book. And if there's nothing in there that you can use, that means that you are able to solve your problems without the use of my book. See, the book is just a practical guide. Mm-hmm. And if you can't find nothing in it that you can use, don't use it. That's what compensatory means. It's based on compensatory logic, which is the logic of the entire universe. Okay? So it's just not about Neely Fuller. Okay. So here's what. What you do is don't remain silent. Don't remain silent. So if you're not going to be silent, what are you going to be? You're going to say something. So what are you going to say? Say something in a scientific manner. Follow the logic. And how do you do this? By doing what? If you've been listening to this program here on Talktainment Radio, or if you have read some parts of the textbook for victims of white supremacy, how do you solve problems? Racism is a problem. It's just another one of the problems that's the biggest problem on earth among people, in my opinion. How do you solve it? Just like you solve any other problem. Ask questions.
Ask questions. Okay.
All problems, without exception, all down to the history of the entire universe, have been solved through the process
of questions
and answers.
Okay.
So rather than get frustrated and start running around in a circle screaming and yelling like we usually do, just calmly, regardless of what the person is saying, whether it's Neely Fuller or whether it's President Donald Trump or whether it's Julius Caesar, whomever it is, whether it's the devil, if he'll talk to you, ask questions. Mm-hmm. Ask questions about what? about the details of everything that the person who is speaking is saying.
Okay.
And that includes Neely Fuller, President Donald Trump, or anybody else.
Right.
Ask questions and don't help with the answers, and don't jump into the person's conversation or response when you're answering.
Okay.
Or when they try to answer.
Okay.
I saw that happen this morning and yesterday on television.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw this on television, and that was President Donald Trump was making statements, and people were asking him questions about the statements that he was making, and he started telling people, let me answer your question. And people were breaking into his answer. Now, I don't know who these people were, but the code says don't ever do that. When you ask a question, after you put that question mark behind that question, that's what that question mark is for.
Yes.
In fact, that's the universal symbol in the code, a question mark.
Okay.
That's the universal symbol.
Okay.
Okay? Once you ask that question, go silent.
Go silent.
And wait for the answer. You don't want your answer. You want the answer from the person who's doing the talking. Because this is very, very important. I'm going to tell you why. Once that person answers the question, regardless of what the answer is, the only thing you do then is have your next question ready. If you have a question.
Okay.
All right? But don't help them with the answer.
Okay.
Never do that.
All right. Let me close this question out. He says, if your book is still valid now, that these white supremacists have come out with vengeance, can we continue to just ask them questions, or is it time to pick up arms and prepare for war?
You are engaging in maximum counter-war verbally. I'm talking about, everything is thought, speech, and action.
Yeah, yes.
And speech is a form of action. You're engaging in the best form of speech action. Speech, which is action. The best form that you can possibly engage in when you ask one strategic question after another. And don't help with the answer, because it will always lead you right where you need to go. This is how truth is revealed. Questions and answers. Every school that's worth being called a school is made up of what? Questions and answers. That's all a school is. I don't care how big the building is, or how small it is, or whether you're having school up under a tree. It's all questions and answers. If you ever think about it, folks. What is a school? Questions and answers. What is a courtroom? Questions and answers.
Right.
They always lead you right where you need to go.
Okay.
Stay in the question lane.
TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go, and you can simply download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby. I am Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic has been, religion. Okay, I was told to go to the phone call right now, then I'll read the information here. Okay, line number 1, you're on.
You got me?
Hey, yeah. Hey, listen, before you make your comment, I need you to hang on, because I got a message that I'm supposed to give you, and only you, and I don't want to put it out all over the world. So when your 2 minutes are up, then hang on, then I'll give you the message, okay? I'll go back and give you the message. Okay, go ahead, bro.
All right. Black people are not inferior to anyone. What it is, we have been conquered. Pilgrims came here. They wouldn't even survive if it wasn't for the Indians. Chinese came up with gunpowder. Different people came up with different things wherever they were. It's not that nobody is superior to anyone. These people were just able to come and conquer people and kill them. And the main reason they was able to do it, because non-Caucasian people always befriended people. So when a stranger came to their land, they didn't say, oh, let me kill them all. They took them in, talked to them. There's another human. And that was their biggest downfall. Now, let me say this real quick. Our time is quickly running out. If you want a chance to save your life or some loved one life, you got to try to get them out of here. You're not going to outshoot, outgun, outkill this man in his land. That is not going to happen. Some black men out there with a few guns think they are ready for a war. I wonder sometimes have any of them ever been in the military. They not ready for no war. They can whoop the Boy Scouts. It takes a lot to fight a war. First of all, you need a country you fighting for. We never had no country. This ain't our country. Vietnamese, they had a country over there. Iraq, them. They got Afghanistan. Them people are fighting for their land. They have something to fight for. What would we be fighting for? So we can just come back out and walk down the street and go to the store? You sure ain't gonna be fighting for no country. You ain't got no country.
All right.
People, if you're able to get out of here, get out. It don't mean you're being scared. It don't mean you're going to get away from white supremacy. Hey, white supremacy run the world, but you might go be able to get somewhere to live your life out.
All right,
your grandchild might be able to live their life out.
Okay.
You're not going to defeat these people.
All right, my brother.
Okay.
Hey, don't hang up. I'm gonna give this message to Ed so he can give you what this gentleman wants to get in contact with you. So do not hang up. All right.
Appreciate
okay. All right. Let's go to line number 2. Okay, caller, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. My question to Mr. Fuller today is, in the 9 areas of activity, if we had to take them apart and show people and get rid of the disinformation and the deception, which one do you think would be most important to stop, like, immediate suffering right now, like, for instance, in the Middle East, and like the wars that's going on right now?
Okay.
Can I give an example?
No, wait a minute. Let Mr. Fuller address that, my brother. Let him address that. The 9th area. I need you to listen to what Mr. Fuller is going to say. Mr. Fuller?
The 9th area of activity of war and counter-war.
Go ahead, repeat it.
I was saying which one, if you had to take them apart and show people what's actually going on instead of the deception, which area do you think would be the most important to stop immediate suffering right now among non-white people?
Okay.
Like right now.
All right, Mr. Fuller?
The code book is written in such a way that whomever picks up the code book, which is just a guide, what I have written is just a guide, and is segmented into 9 areas of activity. And the 9th area of activity is war, counter-war. But all of these areas of activity blend one into the other. What affects politics affects education. What affects education affects war. What affects war affects religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all a part of the same cloth, you might say, like a blanket made up of different little patches and whatnot. Old-fashioned blanket made up of different types of cloth, but it's all the same blanket. So the world is the same way. It's all just one piece of cloth. All right? You can't really separate one from the other. I mean, it's all, the world is the world, and we're all in it. Okay? So now, and a counter-racist code operates the same way. You're in the prison system, so each prisoner, and I keep emphasizing this, has to make his or her choice about what he or she will do about racism wherever he or she may be in the prison system, based on what they think will work. And all of the book that I have written, the part that I have written of what I call a code, which is not a complete code, there's no such thing as a complete code until all problems are solved. But the contribution, if you want to call it that I have made is just a sort of a guide about what some of the things a person can choose to do, but they have to choose to do it depending on whether or not they think it will work. It's just like, working, in a big building, and, you're doing whatever you're doing in the building, and if the building is a place that produces lettuce, wherever you are in that building that produces lettuce, you just do the part of handling the lettuce that you do. And if you come up on a way of doing it that's different from the ways that everybody else is doing it, you just do that because you say, well, we have to have the lettuce at a certain temperature in this part of the building that's different from the lettuce and the temperature in the other part of the building.
Yes.
On account of the air conditioning is different and all like that. So you just do that. So everything is addressed to the individual person. See, that's one thing that we don't understand. It always comes down to individuals. Why? Because the concept is this, and the white supremacists understand this concept. You solve the problems of each individual person by having a code of thought, speech, and action for that individual person that fits his or her circumstances. Then you solve the problem of all individual persons. That's why each individual white supremacist can go anywhere alone, because they are not alone, because they are taking what with them? Not all the other white supremacists in the world. They are alone.
Yes.
But that's all they need, because they got one other thing with them, and that's what? A white
code.
And what is a white code? Things that you do, things that you don't do.
All righty.
Things that you say, things that you don't say. And they have found out that having a code that's designed to always serve you wherever you are, and they have, by trial and error, made it work better than any other code that any other people have ever produced in the recorded history of the world.
TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go. You can download the TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablets. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby. I'm the co-host on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we've been discussing religion in the system of racism or white supremacy. Mr. Fuller has addressed it going on. This is the second hour. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, or you can do this. You can go to facebook.com/talktainment. That's facebook.com/talktainment. And there you can see, and you can also hear us. There's a like button there. Hit that, and then there's a comment button. You can also leave your comments, which we will appreciate. And we give you shout-outs like I'm getting ready to do now. Keith in Texas, thank you for listening. Kim in Houston, Tyreek in New York, Anthony in South Africa, thank you. Mitro in French Guiana, and Mr. Washington in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Thank you for your listenership. Let's go here. This is from a lady in Michigan with a two-part question. Mr. Fuller, what is your advice when a black person does low-standard work and it affects the office? Should he or she be reported to the boss who is white, or should he or she be overlooked so that he or she doesn't lose their job, which will affect his livelihood and be detrimental to him or her as a black person or a black man? I've tried giving him, in particular, hints about his work ethic, but the level of his work seems to be getting worse. I don't want to be a snitch, but it's been frustrating. I recall a story that you told about a jalopy who was hard-working, committed, reliable, dependable. It seems to me that some black people no longer think that they should be a jalopy, making it where we are to go to, or like Dr. King stated, burn the midnight oil. We have become so comfortable and complacent, in my opinion, no longer think we should continue to work hard and produce quality work so we don't jeopardize what we have already. Your response, Mr. Fuller?
My response is, tell the person the truth. Tell the person the situation that we're in. We're in a prison. We are prisoners of war. So you tell your fellow prisoners the truth. You go to them. If you're working in the laundry, you're working in the machine shop, in the prison, you're working in the prison yard, cleaning up the prison yard, whatever you're doing, and someone is over there not doing their part of the work that they are assigned to do. You didn't assign them to do it. The white supremacists assigned them to do it. So you do this like in Shawshank Redemption. Red, he turned to Andy the Frame and told when they were tarring that roof, and he said, Andy, you walking over there toward the guards, getting ready to have a conversation, get back here on this mop, fella. I mean, we're supposed to be tarring this roof. Because, why? Because if you go over there and start some kind of argument with them, you're going to get in trouble. Don't do that, because that's going to be the result. Everything in codification is about cause and effect. So just talk to the person about the truth of the situation, and just tell the person, now, whomever the name of the person is, very politely. I mean, you're not making a threat. You're explaining something about the situation in this prison. You say, look, if you keep doing what you're doing over there in your cell, the warden is going to become aware of it. And they say, well, the warden won't become aware of it if you don't tell him. Say, yeah, but the warden is going to ask me what happened. And I'm going to have to tell the warden the truth, because I am a prisoner like you. I don't want to go into solitary confinement. And so you're going to be helping them to put me in solitary confinement if I cover for you. And that's not correct. So if you just do your part of the work, I do my part of the work,
yes,
maybe eventually the both of us can figure out where we can both do less work. But what you're doing now is putting us both in jeopardy.
Yes.
Okay. And they say, well, you're going to snitch on me? Say, no, I am just telling you that you are hurting yourself, by hurting me and the rest of the workers, because you're bringing attention now to everything that's not being done that the warden is going to be aware is not going to be done.
Okay.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it works.
We are all in a prison, and we'll all suffer for what you're doing. Now, do you want to make all of us suffer? Because you'll wind up suffering anyway, because the work ain't getting done.
It's not getting done.
I mean, and then let them, answer them. See, once you ask the question, put everything in the form of a question. Is that what you want to happen? Leroy or Mr. Jones
or whatever your
or Miss
name
Green
is.
or whatever the person's name is.
Yeah.
Say, do you want to jeopardize everybody that you're working with so that we all lose our jobs? Because they say that we're all incompetent on account of you not doing the part that you're supposed to be doing, and there's no way that you can get around not doing it, all right, because they're going to know that you didn't do it.
They're going to know,
okay?
Right.
But they are going to jeopardize all of us by saying you didn't tell us about him not doing what he's supposed to do. See what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So do you want to harm all of us? Is this what you're trying to do? And just let him answer the question.
Okay. Let me get this in the second part. She says, my second question is, the white supremacists seem to be letting this co-worker behave this way. I'm confused, Mr. Fuller, with why that is being allowed as well. Can you answer that? Thank you.
Because the white supremacists, if that is a white supremacist, if it's a white supremacist, that is a part of that golden white supremacist strategy. See, they will deliberately put a black person among you, knowing full well what's going to happen. That he will put everybody in that machine shop or wherever it is, that office, in jeopardy, so he can fire all of you by saying none of you are no good on account of that one person, that one link in the chain that they planted there. Now, he or she may not be aware that she was planted there, but the white supremacists knew what would happen. They are very scientific. And they'll say, you're covering for him. Now, we can't have you covering for somebody who's not, contributing to the firm. and making the firm weaker. So maybe it's not just feasible for us to get rid of that one person. As of next Tuesday, all of you can come in here and get your pay slips, all 7 of you, you know, and we'll just get a completely new 7 people, which is what they intended to do in the first place. They planned that 2 years ago, but you didn't know it.
But you didn't know. Yes, sir.
This happens all the time. I'm telling you. See, I mean, you're talking about strategy.
Yep.
They didn't get where they got.
Yep.
As being the most powerful people on earth without having long-range strategy.
You got that right.
They have a strategy worked out before you even get the job.
Yes, sir.
About how they're going to see to it that you don't have the job before you retire.
Have mercy. Mr. Fuller, at this particular juncture, we need to discuss your book. Go ahead, please.
Oh, go to producejustice.com. I got to emphasize this. I mean, somebody called me, I mean, you know, on my line. I mean, a couple of people down through the years, a few people, quite a few people really, say, Fuller, did you just be one of these other old Negroes, came up with a way to make some money selling a book and all like that? Say, you always say everybody should be straight up and whatnot. Just give me a straight answer and all that. I said, I didn't even start out to write a book, and that's true. I mean, I started out trying to tell people to write a book, giving them the information, and that is true. A lot of people know that. I came to them with just some scraps of paper and whatnot, with stuff written on for an idea for a book. I said, what we need is a one book that every black person can pick up and say, this will be my basic guide, and, you know, I might use other guides and all like that, but this will be the basic I'll come back to in handling systems dealing with, or handling incidents dealing with, this system of white supremacy. That's how I started out. I mean, you know, and Dr. Francis Wilson and all like that, they know that's how I started out.
Yes, sir.
I had a whole bunch of papers, just scraps of paper, I mean, written on the back of paper bags and all this kind of stuff in a suitcase. I walked around with that suitcase. It got so thick, the suitcase got so full and whatnot, I had to put a belt around it to keep it closed.
Yes, sir.
All right? But I was trying to get somebody, write some of this stuff down, please, some of y'all, about how to handle stuff on a day-to-day basis. We keep going to meetings and pointing fingers in the air and accusing people of doing this and accusing of that. I say, nothing ever gets done. I say, what people need is something they can use right this minute on their job, if they're on the job, right this minute, to keep them getting fired, all right? What to say when they go to that next meeting. They want to know specifically what to do and what not to do. Can you all write something like that? And everybody just kind of looked at me blank. So that's when I started writing the book in earnest and say, I got to put this in a book as best I can. I'll slap something together. It's not the best written book in the world. Ain't nowhere near that. I'd love to have written a book at the 5th grade level, because that's the best way to write, because then people understand what you're saying much better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. It's a basic guide. And I say, well, hey, I know I got to sell this book to get it out there, because I don't have money. It takes money to get the book out there. And I got to do it all myself, which I did. I mean, with the help initially of Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. Bless her for helping me get the first book out. I mean, after many years.
Yes, sir.
I mean, of people telling her that maybe she should help me because maybe she could. And she did. Okay. And then I've been able to go since that to get the book out that I have now in this form.
Okay.
All right?
Produce
this latest form.
Okay.
Okay, but go to Produce Justice in order to get it.
Okay. ProduceJustice.com.
Yeah. ProduceJustice.com.
Okay. All right. All right. Now let me get this question. This will probably be the last one. This is from Trey. He says, "My name is Trey. My question for Mr. Fuller pertains to an observation I've recently made about racism and white supremacy. It seems to me that in the age of Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, and the ultra-right white nationals, we are seeing a war within the system of racism and white supremacy. This looks like a war of approach of how to most effectively maintain the system of racism, white supremacy. This war is between the conservative white nationalists, the Trumps, the Bannons, etc., and the progressive white supremacists, all of the liberal organizations that pretend to be for blacks. What do you think of this, Mr. Fuller? I've seen the so-called left-wing white progressives be just as racist as right-wing white conservatives within a system of racism, white supremacy, as you have described. There doesn't seem to be a political party organization that isn't contributing to the system of racism, white supremacy in one way or the other. Victims of racism, white supremacy should not be tricked into thinking that white progressives are for us simply because they are liberal. Thanks for your insight, Mr. Fuller.
If this is in the form of a question,
yes,
I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of this program almost 2 hours ago. What did I say? I started off, and I said, I want to make this very, very clear. This morning, in 2017, August, the white supremacists are very skilled at the art, science, code of deception. All right? And they are the best strategists in the world for dominating and mistreating people. And part of that strategy, a key part, is to do what? What did I say earlier in this program? If some of you were with this program at the beginning. Today. I said it over and over again, and I'm going to end up this program saying it. The white supremacists take all sides of every argument when it comes to people of color, so that they have positioned themselves to have, in the end, the same strength or greater strength than they had before the argument started. I'm going to emphasize that again. They are very, very scientific at taking all sides. See, they position their people on all sides of not just two sides, three sides. If there's an argument of any kind, religious argument, political argument, educational argument, they position themselves on all sides of every facet of every argument. Don't forget that. Like the Godfather trying to tell Michael, I mean, whomever comes to you and set up this meeting, that's a traitor. Don't forget that.
Don't forget that. All righty. Well, we have come to the end of the show, so let me say this. Thank you for listening. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for all of your calls, your Gmails, for your likes, all that. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.
You ever see that stuff that be when it get cold, that ice that you can't see? That's how shit happens sometimes.